exercise that I sometimes like to do, just start things off. But to let you know what to expect from this workshop is, first of all, we'll talk a bit about the difference between in-person events and virtual experiences. I've done a lot of in-person experiences and I love doing those. And I always said that technology is a barrier from connecting with people. But now I have to find a way, and I think a lot of you are here too, because we need to find a way to leverage technology to connect with people. So we'll talk a bit about the difference, and then the two big sections will be how to leverage technology. So how to use different functions in Zoom, especially the breakout rooms to create this experience. And the second thing I share is my event flow for the events that I host, just to get an idea of what are different elements, how can you get creative, how can you make sure that people are engaged throughout, and not just sitting in front of a computer and being bored. If that sounds like a good plan, and then at the end we'll talk about what's next and a Q&A, that is a good plan. Give me a quick thumbs up as a way to check in, or type a yay as I did, or somebody with my name did just now. Great. Or you can do the virtual, somebody found the virtual thumbs up as well. There should be a button that says reactions on the bottom. You can use that as well. It will appear on your screen for a little bit. And what I would like to do now is I set up a few polls throughout this this workshop. Again, a way to keep you engaged, but also to check who's in the room. So now on your screen, there should be a poll that showed up that you can vote on how many Zoom meetings or events you've been on in the last 2 weeks. So just cast your vote there and we'll see the results come in. I can see there's a few people who've been on more than 30. I'm hoping this is estimated, not actually more than 30, because that seems like a lot, but there is a lot of events happening. All right, I'll give you another 5 seconds to cast your vote. And later I'll be also explaining how to set up those polls in Zoom later. All right, last chance, 3, 2, 1. And let me just, oops, sorry, I'm grabbing the wrong window. Nah, it doesn't want to let me grab the right window. Okay, well, I don't know if you see this, but here are the results. This is where we're at. Most people have been on 2 to 5 or 6 to 10. I think that's like more than half of the people I've been to, between 5 and 10 polls. Nah, okay. Why doesn't it let me select the right thing? There we go. Great. So I want to make sure that you're getting all the information that you wanted to get out of this. Yes, Amber, I've hosted at least 10. I think it's been more than 10 that I've been a part of for sure. But before we get into the presentation, I would love if you could comment in the chat, what is one thing you would like to get out of this workshop? Like if you have one burning question that you want to make sure that we cover today, type it in the chat and I'll make sure to cover those. So I'll give you just a minute to think of something. And thanks to everyone who's already suggested some of the questions in the sign up forum or on the Facebook event. Right, ideas for engaging Zoom meetings, fun interactive games, how to bring this magical feeling of live events to online, how to be more confident in Zoom. Sandra is already learning from what I've done so far. That's great. I'm hoping that this will be experiential. I'm planning to have you break out in groups as well at one point. So we'll be exploring all the different things, how to do a poll, interactive activities. Oh, there's so many things coming in. Maximum participants and still make it interactive, how to use the breakout rooms, increase engagement, how to make it easy for people to join. Yeah, there's lots of things. Yeah, keep writing them if you have them. I'll just do a quick intro on who I am and why I created this presentation and why I think it's important that there's more virtual experiences out there and not just virtual meetings and events. So my name is Jan, and I created about almost 3 years ago, I created this deck of cards that you see me throwing out in this picture there, kind of like a magician, um, and a deck of cards, which is Ask Deep Questions. And to me, that was created out of a desire to have more meaningful conversations. I used to go to so many networking events where I was literally terrified to talk to people because I knew the questions they would ask me, and I would kind of quietly judge them for not asking me any interesting questions and just asking, so what do you do and where you're from and how was your week? Like those were probably some of the most common questions I would get. So when I hosted this camping trip, I wanted people to connect much deeper and talk about the things that we normally never talk about because we don't have the courage to bring those topics up, from things that we're struggling with in our relationships to how do we want to leave a legacy after we pass away, what just in general, like what are the big life goals that we want to have accomplished by the end of our life. So the cards did really well. They have started now, I think that counter needs to be updated, over 70,000 deep conversations based on there being 48 questions in each card deck. And what I also started doing is hosting all these different experiences and events at conferences, helping them connect with their delegates. I did that with TEDx Toronto just in October last year. I was supposed to do a TEDx talk myself actually this Saturday, but that got postponed to October. So I'm hoping to share this once that it comes out. But I also hosted a lot of my own events that I call campfire conversations. That is just a space where people come together and reveal their masks and connect through different fun activities, but also facilitated conversations. And in a way, that is what I've now been trying to move online, which is helping people, basically turning a group of strangers into friends really quickly and going from surface level conversations to meaningful connections. And here's like some screenshots that I took in the last few weeks of people that I had calls with and events that I hosted. So there were all kinds of different sizes. And like I said earlier, the big thing I learned is that now is the time to figure out how to leverage technology instead of seeing it as a barrier to connection. So that's why I've been just hosting as many things as possible. Probably every second day I've been hosting something in the last 2 weeks. So the big difference between virtual events and in-person events is that virtually you can't hug people when they arrive, you can't give high fives, like there's no touch. It's also much harder to do anything around movement because people are mostly sitting in front of their computers as you are now, or on their phones. And also I guess the good thing is nobody really has to wear pants. I don't know how many here want to share if they're wearing pants right now, but I'm wearing sweatpants. Just to let you know, I dressed up from the waist up, but it's kind of important every couple of days to put on something else. But it feels a little bit weird these days, right? Putting on like real pants, at least that's it for me. The other great thing about virtual events is that you have a lot more control over, like everybody who's attending has control over the environment that they're in. Like if you wanted to join the call from your bed or your office or your front porch or your backyard, you can choose where you want to do it. You can have your own tea, your own coffee, whatever you need to make you feel comfortable. Usually when you do live events, you sometimes have to worry about lots of background noises. Luckily, that doesn't really exist unless you're in a noisy environment. So as long as you're in a quiet environment, you close the windows, you make sure that your kids are not yelling and crying in the background, then you're good. And the other thing is technology, things like the breakout rooms that have a timer that counts down, or immediately being able to do a poll anonymously in like a minute, you could never do that in person. So I feel like there's a lot of pros and cons, but let's talk today about how to make the best of it. Because I have this, I'm just going to put a word on the screen, and I would love for you to go in the chat. This is like an experiment. If you've seen this word before, don't participate. But if you have never seen this word, I want you to just type in the chat what you think it means. All right, so everybody get ready in the chat. Let's see who can guess what this word is or this sentence. Okay, I think everybody is now getting the right thing, or at least one of the things. Opportunity is nowhere, or opportunity is now here. It really depends how you read it. If you've ever seen this word, you probably know what it's supposed to be. But I feel like right now is one of the times where you really have to look at, okay, is this crisis going to be a challenge that's going to stop me from creating and bringing people together and hosting events, or is that an opportunity to start innovating and seeing how can you see the opportunity in this? And I totally believe that there is an opportunity that now starts to happen. I just went to Google Trends and looked up one keyword. Does anybody want to guess what this keyword is that had this huge spike in March 2020? Zoom. Exactly. Marty got it right. First one. So I just typed in how many people are searching for Zoom in March, and it's a lot more than the last few years. So there's a big opportunity here, I believe, especially because this technology now, I'm hoping finally is being used in more creative ways than just people sitting in front of their screens. So the most basic things that you need, which you probably all have as you're tuning into this, is you need a Zoom account, you need a webcam and a microphone. Those are like the three things you need to host any live event. I also add to this, you need a laptop or desktop computer, because hosting from your phone works for like smaller, like catching up with friends. But if you want to host an virtual experience, you need to use the laptop, because that will give you access to a lot more functionality. Yes, and Amber says Chromebook is also not ideal because sometimes the options aren't as available as with other laptops. And technology sometimes gives you lots of challenges, like this screenshot of me trying to record what I'm doing in Zoom, so I can show you what's happening behind the scenes, but that just ended up in this like loop of never ending. I don't even know how to describe it, but I basically couldn't put the presentation together the way I wanted to. So I took a lot of screenshots. I animated a lot of screenshots. I cut out a lot of pieces of screenshots and put it all together. So this, I'm actually quite excited how it looks like, and I hope that you appreciate it. Appreciate all the work that I put into this, and I'm hoping that you'll all take away a lot from this. So let's get started. I'll give you a quick overview of what I'm seeing while I'm hosting this meeting, of what the host menu looks like. So if you look at your Zoom window on the bottom, you might not see all the things that I'm seeing there. And I'll go through the most important ones that I'm using today, so you can understand what they're for and how they work. So the first one is manage participants. So if I click on that, it will open up this little window on the side where I can see all the participants. So right now, when I took the screenshot, it was just me in the Zoom room. But if I click that right now, I actually see 58 people with their names, and I can see if their camera is on or off, if their mic is on or off. And then on the bottom, that is the most important thing, there's a mute all button. And if I click that, actually, if I click mute all, it will just mute everyone. And if I unmute all, it will, everybody's mic will be unmuted, which is a great tool to use. But also, if I click the more button, I can allow everyone to unmute themselves, which is great if you have a smaller group. For a larger group like today with, how many are we? With 59 people. I don't want everybody being able to unmute themselves because I can't keep on top of things if everybody starts talking at the same time. So if somebody has questions, I usually ask people, please raise your hand, like actually in the screen, or there's also a button where you can raise your hand and then I get notified. So, or you can just use the chat. Somebody says, right, and with the free version of Zoom, you have access to all of those functions. The only thing that you're limited by is your meetings are 40 minutes maximum. So if you want to have longer events than 40 minutes, then getting one of the pro subscriptions, I have like the lowest one, which is around $15 US a month. And yes, right. Albert has a great idea of using the unmute all button, which is actually something that we did last week. Maybe we can just try that real quick, because that's a fun way to, again, have you experience how it works. So in a moment, we will all take one deep breath in together, and then I will unmute everyone and we'll all let out a big sigh at the same time. Does that sound good? So on the count of 3, we'll breathe in, then I'll unmute you, you'll let out a sigh, and then I'll mute you all again, just to give you the experience of what that feels like. So if you're ready, give me a quick thumbs up in the camera if you're on the screen, so I can at least see if a few people are ready. I can't see everyone in mine, but I can see a few people. So take a deep breath in, inhale, 1, 2, 3, in, and yeah. Okay, my screen doesn't. There we go. Sorry, my screen is going too fast. Where were we? So now everybody gets at least a little bit of a sigh out. So that's like a fun way you can engage people. But usually I will not allow participants to unmute themselves, but that's a quick way if you wanted to change that as well. The other thing you can do here is you can lock your meeting. So this is something, especially if you're creating an atmosphere where you want people to feel safe and you don't want new people to join in your event after you've started. I usually lock my meeting after 15 minutes. So if you're late more than 15 minutes, you can't join, you just have to wait for the next thing that is about to happen, or you're gonna miss it. And that's something that I usually also tell people in the email that I send out beforehand. So that's a great way to do that. All right, next thing is, we already did a poll. For the polls, there's one thing, you have to enable that on the website, and I'll go through that in a little bit. For the polls and the breakout rooms, and I think also the reactions, you actually have to put a check mark or click a box on the Zoom website to make sure that it's enabled, and only then it will show up in your Zoom window. And I see all of your questions, by the way. I will go through a few of those slides and then I'll look up the questions. So I'm not going to forget about them. So let's see, or I'll show you again what it looks like in the back end. So the polls you also have to set up ideally before your meeting, because if you try to change the poll while you're already in the meeting, it will send you back to the website and you have to do it there and then hope that it updates on time. So what I did for today is I thought of all the polls I want to make in this meeting, and then I set it up on the website, and then it will show up as, you see poll 1, then I can run the poll, I can share the results, and then everybody sees what the consensus was. I will launch another poll just because I put this fun little poll together, and somehow this poll always wants to be in the wrong side of my screen. So when I want to grab it, it grabs the selection. Okay, sorry guys, you're gonna see a little bit of a black screen. There we go. So I launched another poll. How many times have you washed your hands today? Just a quick little fun thing. So you can, with the polls, you're a little bit limited in Zoom because you can either do multiple choice or a single choice, and that's about it. So if you want to do any more advanced polls, you have to, or you could just send out a link to a Google form in the chat, have people sign or vote over there, and then come back. Right, let's end it. Share the results. Most people wash their hands 2 to 5 times. I'm glad. And only one person washed their hands 57 times, which is what their hands probably look like. I just found this image earlier today and I needed to share it. This is what your hands look like if you wash them 57 times a day. All right, let's have a look at some of the questions. Do you have Zoom meeting or webinar? This is a Zoom meeting, so I don't have the webinar option. With the webinar, it gives you a few more features, but I love doing them as meetings. You're limited to, I think, 100 people that can be in it in the plan that I have. And what else is different? I'm actually not quite sure anymore, but the webinar option is a lot more expensive. So I didn't even look into it again in the last little while. And if I use passwords to get in, I usually don't have passwords. I just send the link out to everyone. Yes, Iggy says that Zoom webinars don't allow people to talk. I think there's an option for it. And like Sandra says, it's best for like a webinar or lecture style. So if one person's talking, everybody else is listening. For an experience where you want people to engage with each other, this is the thing that you want to sign up for. Next thing, sharing your screen. So I actually disabled everyone else sharing their screen, but there is something fun, or a few fun things that you can do with sharing your screen that also engage people. So first of all, the thing that pops up is this window. So you can share different, like your whole desktop. You can share different windows. I am right now, oh, hang on. We're already going to play something. Let me go back 1 second. So you can share your screen. And one thing that I did is in this presentation, I wanted to show you one feature that is the annotation feature, which I saw somebody already discovered earlier, which is you can actually annotate and write things on my screen while I'm doing the presentation. And I know in the webinar option, that's not possible. And I'll explain to you now how it works. Plus, we'll be looking for Waldo, as we already practiced in the beginning with looking for Peppa. Right now, Waldo is really easy to find with everybody socially distancing, but this will help us experiment. So if you see the view options on the top of your screen right now, next to the green bar that says that you're viewing my screen, and then find where it says annotate, and you click that. Oh, somebody already found it. Then it will show up this bar on the top where you now can draw on my screen and you can write text on my screen. And if you're going to look for, I knew this is going to be chaotic, but I love it. Please keep going. If you find the arrow on the top, then it will actually, I'm just going to clear this all. Oh, hang on. No, we're going back. We're going backwards. Where are we? I've been trying to click the screenshot rather than the actual thing. Okay, let's just clear that for 1 second. So if you click the arrow, it will show you show your name next to it, but only one person at a time can click it. So as soon as somebody else clicks it, the arrow will move. And this is something that obviously doesn't work if 60 people click it at the same time. So here are the rules for Where is Waldo? So in a moment, please stop. Can you all stop annotating the screen for a moment? I'll tell you the rules and then we'll get creative. So in a moment, I will click to the next screen and there will be a actual Where's Waldo picture where you have to find Waldo. And the rules are this. If you were on a call with me earlier this week and you've already found him in the same picture, you're not allowed to play. Number two, only once you found him, you can use your arrow to click and then it will say your name. So don't click the arrow unless you have found him. And I'm hoping that I'll be able to spot the first person who does. So get really close to your screen and I'm going to clear all the annotations right now and then we're going to find him. Yes, and my son just found that there's a train passing. Okay, are you ready? And yes, there will be a replay. 3, 2, 1. Oh, hold on, I need to click through this. There we go. Now you have to find Waldo. And only click it, Godwin, only click it if you found him. Because otherwise it will disappear from everyone else. Let's see if somebody can find him. It's probably hard because it's also really small on people's screen, but I like the challenge. Anybody found him yet? So if you see the picture on the left on the white piece, that's how he looks like, but that's not him. That's just how he looks like. So he has his hiking boot. Yes, Carlina found him. And whoever made that green circle around him, I'm not sure. Yay, congratulations. And I was going to let you all draw on top of me and put me a mustache and glasses, but I think you already did a lot of drawing in the previous one. So we'll move on in just a minute. And actually, this is still fun. Yes, let's just let that happen and let out all the creativity, let it all out, because in a moment, I can't disable this feature after I started the presentation, which means I now taught you something that is very powerful, but I ask you really nicely to not use it throughout the rest of the presentation. So get out all the things that you need to get out and then we'll continue. Cool? All right. I am going to, let me delete everything. Okay. No more drawings. So we can continue. Yes. Hi, you want to play too? Yeah? All right, next thing is there's an advanced option for the share screen, which is the one part that I'm using right now. I'm sharing just a portion of my screen so I can use my presenter view in Keynote. So you're seeing just a portion of what my screen looks like, and I still have my chat and everything else on the side. And the other thing you can do is, hold on. You can share computer sound only. And if you've ever been on a Zoom call and you thought, why is there this amazing music playing in the background? That's exactly what they did. They clicked this button that says computer sound only. Like I did at the beginning of this call, I was playing some music as everybody was coming in. Another way you can do this, if you're also sharing your screen, you see the little animated arrow on the bottom left where it says share computer sound, there's like a checkbox. If you're sharing your screen and you want to play computer sound, you just click that checkbox and it will do both. And maybe at the end we'll do a little dance session, but for now we spend, I think, enough time annotating my presentation that we'll skip this for now and go to the one part that is probably the most powerful feature in Zoom, which is the breakout rooms. And again, this is something you have to enable in your settings on the website before you start your meeting. And the great thing is, if I click that, it will now pop up with this little window. I know it's quite small to see, but it basically says assign the participants into, and then the number of rooms. And you can do up to 50 different rooms. And right now, when I took the screenshot, it was just me in the meeting. So of course it says 0 participants per room because it can't split me up into less than 1. But imagine now with 58 people in the room, it will say, okay, create like 3 rooms with 20 people, or create 58 rooms with 1 person. So you can set that there. And then if you click it, you will get this screen where you can see every person's name and in which room they're in. And the great thing here is you can easily transfer people from one room to another. You can exchange them with a person. Like if you have, I don't know, if you have a couple that is in your experience together and they said they don't want to be in the same group, you could make sure that they're in different groups. And also you can just let Zoom automatically assign it, or you could manually go in and then just move people around. So I always do it automatically and then see what happens. And if there's something I need to change, then I go and I move people around. But also the big thing, especially if you're having an event with, like I have right now, over 50 people, this can get super confusing. Like if I created now 20 rooms, which I will do in a moment with like 3 people each, then this will be a really long list. And for me to go in while I'm still engaging with the audience to move people around, that is a lot of work and I can't multitask that well. So for larger events, I would highly recommend that you have a co-host that you can invite that has the same features, and they don't need like a specific account. It's all still running under your account, but you can make anybody who's in the audience a co-host. And then they can organize all the rooms while you explain kind of the activity or how it works. And there's a question, can people choose their own small groups? So unfortunately, no. That is one thing that I wish was possible. So people could kind of choose their own adventure and move in and out of a room by themselves. But unfortunately, you can assign them a room and then they can leave their room and come back to the main big room. So if you're thinking, like I always visualize, let's say, a party. So you're hosting a party in the living room, and the living room is where everybody's sitting. And then you want to break people out into smaller groups. So you'll have your kitchen and your bedroom and your second bedroom and the garage and the attic. Or I know Sandra, who's on this call, she has a beautiful cottage, and there's lots of different places like the dock and like the little trailer. So think about it this way. You have all these other rooms that you could put people in, but if they leave the room, they come back to the main living room. So they can only leave back there, but they then can't enter another room unless you assign them one. That makes sense. Can you have people join breakout rooms from the beginning? Again, you have to assign them in the beginning. So you can, if people register through Zoom, it will actually show you a list with everybody's name on the website, and you can pre-assign who you want to be in which room, but you still need to start it once the meeting starts. Yes, and so the other really important and really useful part is the options. So if you split people up in rooms, and again, I'm sorry that this is a little bit small, is that you can choose how long the room is supposed to be open. So you can set a timer. So I change that for every breakout session. I say, oh, this breakout session is going to be with 3 people. Each person shares an answer to a question for 3 minutes. So I'll make the room 10 minutes. So it's 9 minutes plus 1 that they'll probably need to switch around. And then after 10 minutes, the timer will, in each breakout room, count down. And then at the bottom where it says set countdown timer, after the rooms close, and the main timer is up, they get 30 seconds to come back, or they will automatically be kicked out of their breakout room and brought back into the main living room. And I know this is right now sounding a little bit theoretical. That's why we'll actually do it in a moment. So those are some of the important settings that you wanna look at. And I also always check off move participants into breakout rooms automatically, because otherwise they will have to click a button. And sometimes people are really slow to click a button. So if you want to stay on time, you put them into different rooms. Another question? Yes, if somebody's dissatisfied with their breakout room and they return to the main room, this is like you could, as a host, I'll say this too, as a host, you can either stay in the main living room and just stay there in case people have questions. And there is a button in each breakout room that says ask for help. When somebody clicks that button, you as a host get a notification and you can join their room to see what's happening and help them out. So if you want to stay in that, I guess, command control living room, then that's great. But you can also join one specific room yourself. So depending on what you want to do. Okay, change the settings. A few questions I think are the same. Can you do this in the meeting? Yes, this is definitely something that you do in the meeting. You can set it up beforehand, but only if people register through Zoom. So if you have people showing up randomly or signing up late, then you need to do this in there. So once you click breakout rooms, these are the windows that you'll see. And yes, I'll get to the messages in a second. That's actually the next slide. So how do you communicate with everyone in the breakout rooms? There's 3 ways you can communicate instructions of what people should be doing in breakout rooms. Number 1 is you post it in the main chat before you send people to the rooms, because the chat will still be visible once you're in the breakout room. And that's actually really important if any of your instructions are a little bit more difficult or hard to remember. I oftentimes now just post the question that people are supposed to have a conversation with in the chat. Then I send people in the breakout rooms. And then the second way you can communicate is this broadcast message. But you only have a certain amount of characters. And I'll show you how it looks like in a moment once we split up in the rooms. You will just see this blue bar on the top flash up for a couple of seconds, and then it will disappear and you can't find it anymore. So just, those are great for reminders, like you have 2 minutes left, it's time to switch. Let's all come back to the main room, like quick, short messages. And then the last way you can communicate is actually joining each room and telling them something and then leaving the room again, which might work if you have not given the right or very clear instructions how long it's going to be, and you only have like 2 or 3 rooms, so that might work. But usually using the broadcast messages and making sure that your instructions are clear beforehand is a much better way to do it. Yeah, written directions in chat is great. Now, we will try this out. And because there's a lot of people here, I am going to put you all into a room of 3 people each, or 2 people, depending on the math. Again, I will let Zoom do the math rather than me trying to figure out how to do that. And I will give you one question to talk about. And usually what I do at my events is I will pick like a few of my Ask Deep Questions cards. And actually, what we'll do is I will stop sharing this for a moment. And so that way you can see me a little bit bigger. If you go on speaker view, you can now see my 3 cards. I will launch another poll where all you have to do is choose left, right, or middle. And that will decide which question we will have a conversation on in the breakout room. All right, I'll give you another 10 seconds to vote. There's 10 more people that have to put in their vote, but I don't think it's going to make a big difference. All right, I will click here, end the poll, and share the results. So now you see that the middle card is a clear winner. I don't know what that says about statistics and asking people to choose, if that always will be the case. We'll see. So could I get, actually, I will ask Amber if you can hear me. Give me a quick wave. Could you be my little, my co-host and give me a hand by just writing the question in the chat so everybody can see that? So this is the question that will, I don't know if my camera will focus. What is one crucial ingredient for true happiness? So this is one question that will have a little conversation. Like I said, there will be 2 or 3 people in each room that I'm setting up right now from my end. And each person will only get 1 minute to share, just so we're not spending too much time on it. So I will give you in total 4 minutes. So 1 minute per person, you have 1 minute to switch from one to the next person. And that's okay, even if it's not spelled right. What is one crucial ingredient for true happiness? I'm sure people will understand. So if you are ready to try out the breakout rooms and experience what this is like, first of all, please give me a thumbs up. Second of all, again, you have 4 minutes in total. The person with the shortest hair in your group will go first. So first task once you are in your room is find the person with the shortest hair. You might have to like show what's under the hat. That person will go first, and then make sure to switch after about a minute. And I will send you a broadcast message as a reminder after each minute. And then when we come back, I can answer some more questions on the breakout rooms. So again, give me a quick thumbs up if you're ready. And then I will send you to your rooms, like a dad that's sending their kids to their rooms in 3, 2, 1. I don't know if you can hear me, Dima, but you might have to click a button to join the room. Hey, did you end up by yourself?
Yeah.
Oh no, yeah, there was one person that I think couldn't join. Well, you're coming back.
Oh, look, Albert's back.
Ah.
Maybe he's in a room with someone empty too. Well, there was a name, but there was like no video, no sound.
Yeah, I think there were, I can see there's a few people who are like grayed out. That might be that they don't have the audio, so they might not be able to have.
Or maybe, yeah, maybe they're on their phone or something. Maybe on their phone or something. They can't figure it out how to get the video and audio going. Maybe. Oh, there, Nan's back here. That's who I was with. Nan. Hello, Nan. Is there anything I can do to support you for the rest of the meeting, Jan? You're rocking it so far.
If there's questions, like I'll try to keep an eye on them, but if there's questions that you could answer with that are just, I don't know, where is this?
Right.
That would help.
Already asked and answered, sure. It looks like you've got this scheduled for another 30 minutes.
Yes, I'm hoping to get through all the things I want to do.
Are you feeling on schedule so far?
I have no idea.
Oh.
I have not timed this.
Right. This is an experiment.
But I think we're good. It all depends on how many questions there are.
Right.
Hello, Rob.
I can't unmute myself.
Yes, I just unmuted you. Hi.
I've got a client call right now, so I'm leaving. This has been super helpful. Thank you so much. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, I'll send the recording out after.
Perfect. All right, take care.
Message now.
A bit dark. Right, I will mute you again, Kirsten.
Yep.
As people are coming back. Yeah. All right, people are slowly trickling back in. If you're here already, you probably click the leave breakout room button. If people don't click it, they'll be sent back automatically after that 30 seconds is up that I set, which I think is now. All right, let's hang on 1 second. Also, this is like the first time I'm clicking through all the windows. There's so many people from everywhere. Everybody give a quick wave. You can see me. Amazing. This is so much fun. Awesome. I sometimes think this would have been so great to do before all of the craziness in the world started happening, because I'm getting a lot of joy of connecting with people, sometimes now even more, because suddenly people, like my friends in Germany, are not further away than the people living next door. It's kind of fun to live in a time where we have this technology. So are there any questions on the breakout rooms of what you've just experienced? Like, were there any specific questions on what happened before we move on? If there are, maybe you can just type them in the chat. Can you change the callback timer? And did anybody leave their group? So some people left their group. There also was something that happened where I think a few people, they don't have a microphone, or their microphone is not working. So when you joined the room with them, they couldn't talk, or maybe they were not in front of their computer, they were just logged in. So that was unfortunately something that happened with one person. And the countdown is something that I set before I send you to the breakout room. I will show the setting again when I'm sharing my screen. And yeah, so you can set the countdown timer to, I think, like 30 seconds, 60 seconds. There's a few options. And if a participant could leave the room beforehand, yes, everybody has the option. On the bottom, there's a leave breakout room button that everybody can click, and then they come back to the main living room command center where I was waiting for people to come back. Yeah, and that was that. Okay, let me share my screen again. Let me find the presentation. And here. Oh, and now I need to just open my chat again so I can see you all. There we go. So this is what my screen looks like when I'm facilitating a meeting. So usually I have two things enabled. One is the participants. So I can see on the top right, all the people that are there. I can quickly mute and unmute a person by just looking for the name rather than looking at the whole screen and finding them. And like all the mute, unmute buttons are there. And then the chat will just sit underneath that. And that's where people just write all the messages. And then I like to see the gallery view just to get a bigger overview of people. The only difference right now is because I'm sharing also presentation, half of my screen is actually the presentation and the other half is everything in Zoom. So it's a little bit different when you're sharing something. Now, and I'll be sending you the presentation afterwards. So if anything here I forgot to mention is maybe written a little bit small and you can't read it on your screen right now, in the presentation you'll be able to zoom in and you can look things up as well. I'll be sending that out probably tomorrow with the recording of the whole show. The whole show sounds like I'm hosting like a show, a TV show here. But I just wanted to quickly go through some of the settings that you have to change on the website before you start your meeting. And those are host video and participants video. So you can choose when somebody starts or enters your meeting, if their video should be on or off. Usually I like to leave it off because I'm not sure if I'm looking good when the camera turns on. Same way when somebody else joins the meeting, I don't want them to be, I don't know, again, wearing no pants or joining in an awkward room. So I always leave that off and then everybody has the option to turn it on themselves. I also leave off join before host because I don't, especially when I'm hosting events, I don't want people to be connecting and starting to talk to each other. And maybe there's something that I can't control that happens before we even start. If you're just hanging out with friends, then you can totally leave that on and they can use the link without you being there and they can get started if you're running a little bit late, but I usually have that off. Mute participants on entry. Same reason, I usually don't want every single time somebody new joins and their mic is on and they have background noise and dogs barking and kids crying, it will interrupt your event, your experience, your flow. So I usually have that off. I do allow the chat and private chat. So if you haven't used this yet, you could actually look at your chat window on the bottom where it says to, and it either says everyone, and you'll be sending it to everyone who's in the meeting, or you can select the person you're going to send it to, and it will be like a private chat between you and that person. And I think I saw some people waving at each other earlier, so I assume that they've sent a message to each other because they already know each other. Can I see the question about the breakout rooms? Can I see the breakout rooms or read the chat messages? No, I can't, and they're also not saved or recorded. The only thing that is recorded is the breakout room that you as a host would be in, or the computer that is recording it. And the chat that is in the breakout rooms will stay in the breakout room, so nobody can see those unless you're in that room. And saving chat, the main chat gets saved on the host's account. So I can save the chat for later if I wanted to look something up or follow up with people. How do you know the URL before the meeting? We'll chat about how to set up a meeting in a moment. Maximum participant for best easy sharing and reading names. I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. Maybe you could clarify and I'll continue a little bit. So here are the other things you need to enable to make sure that you can use them, which is co-hosts, polling, annotations, what we used. And this is also where you can enable the breakout rooms. Again, if you don't have those enabled, it will not show up on your menu on the bottom inside the Zoom app. And you can also enable or disable the virtual backgrounds that everybody's raving about right now. So if you want people to change their backgrounds, you can do that too, but we'll talk about that maybe another time. Now, to have a co-host, do you need to have 2 accounts? No, I can make anybody that is watching right now a co-host by literally clicking on their name in the participants window and then assign co-host. Now, how to schedule a meeting. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I definitely, if anybody is planning on hosting an event, you do want to run a test. Schedule a meeting, show up yourself, maybe log in from your phone and your laptop and maybe your friend's laptop so you can practice the breakout rooms. Or right now, a lot of people are online, so maybe just posting on Facebook, hey, who's online right now who can help me out? I know there's a few people on this call that helped me out 2 weeks ago, and Amber did that last week that I jumped on, and just for you to test out all those functionalities, you wanna test it out. So when you schedule a meeting, you set on your date and your duration and your name, and then you can have people register, and then it can either create automatically a new link, or it could use your personal ID, which will create the same link for each meeting, which is good if you do this a lot, but also if you want people to join just a very specific meeting and not any others, you don't want to be sharing that with people. And then you can require a password. You can again set here if you want hosts and participants video on and off, and you can choose how people can call in, if they can use their computer audio or telephone. And for my events, because I want people to engage through video and talk to each other, I usually only accept computer audio. But if it's something that they don't have to see, if you're not sharing a presentation, then telephone is totally fine too. Okay, let me just go through the next slide and then we'll go through some questions too. Again, mute participants on entry. You can here pre-assign the breakout room, and you can record the meeting either on the computer or on the cloud. So those are some of the things. While I look at all these questions that are in the chat, I invite everyone to just take a moment and do a stretch that feels really good, like the stretch that you need right now. I'm not gonna tell you what it is. Everybody knows the one that feels good. Just do that for one moment while I read some of the questions. Oh, that feels good. Question about, no, you, again, for a second host, you don't need a second account. I think they might have to have their own account, but it can be a free one. And you just assign, and I think, I'm not sure how many co-hosts you can assign, but you can assign several co-hosts. Tech problems, I think, Eleanor, that's more like a case-by-case basis. If I can help them, sometimes just like leave the meeting and come back in, like try it again is a good way if any tech is not working. Yes, what program did I make the slides in? That was in Keynote. Yes, in the cloud version, it takes some time for it to be uploaded. So it takes a little bit. Default, is there a way to default your message to everyone? When somebody sends you a message, it will default to replying to them. And yeah, do you want to do a quick stretch as we're doing the last 15 minutes? Yes, that's you. Yeah. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Okay, stretch break is over. We have 15 minutes left and I have never timed this presentation. So if there's any questions, let's see if we can keep them to the end. So I'll spend the next 8 minutes on just going through a event flow that I would use for my events. There is a few activities that I wanted to do, but we'll see if we can cut them a little bit shorter, just so we can get through and have a little bit more time for extra questions. Is that okay? Perfect. So event flow. Actually, one important question that I got a lot in the last week was, how long should an event be for people to stay engaged? And I know if you're doing in-person events, if that's what you've been doing, then it's much easier because you have breaks and you can have people just chatting with each other. People can lounge for a little bit and then you engage them again. You can do a lot more physical movements to make sure that people are awake. Online, I find that about an hour and a half, like the length of this workshop, is about the maximum, even for myself as a host. Like after this hour and a half, I'm probably going to take a nap. But if you do any longer events, I highly recommend breaking it up and doing, hey, we're going to take a 15-minute break, go to the washroom, make yourself a coffee, do a couple of push-ups, do a couple of stretches, and then we'll meet back on the call. For anybody who's been attending like online conferences, I find it really hard to be sitting in front of the computer for a long period of time. So yeah, usually for me, hour and a half is like the maximum. If it's an hour, that's great. But I've also realized for the like facilitating conversations, people want to have more time to talk to each other. So hour, almost like my first event was an hour and it felt too short. This is what my event flow for what I do with Ask Deep Questions on Zoom looks like. So I have an unofficial start activity, a welcome, introductions, one big connection activity, and community agreements. And those 5 things usually happen within the first 15 to 20 minutes. And then the breakout sessions is what the majority of the event is about. And then the last 10 minutes, I do a little bit of a debrief and closing. So I'll go through each one of those so you understand what they are and how to use them to engage people. And the first thing is the unofficial start, which if you showed up here on time or like in the first 5 minutes, you probably saw the screen that I put that said, welcome new friend, please introduce yourself in the chat, share where you're tuning in from and one thing that made you happy this week. That's usually what, like I always put a question on the screen as we're starting and some nice music in the background, because like you probably saw, I couldn't start on time, but also there's something interesting that is different from in-person events. If you do an in-person event, people might show up 15 minutes early, they might show up on time, they might show up 15 minutes late. So if this kind of half an hour window at least where people are just trickling in. And I find if you're running virtual events, people usually are like, they show up within like 5 minutes and they might all show up at the same time. Like I saw the number of participants kind of go up from like 3, 4 to like 30 in like a minute. So as everybody's trickling in, how can you engage some of those people that arrive early and the ones that arrive maybe a few minutes later? And for me, that is playing music. You could also be on screen asking them a question that they can answer in the chat or put it on the screen. You could engage people in conversations, or one thing that I sometimes like to do is, especially if there's a lot of people, I would be playing music. And at the same time, whenever somebody joins, I would say their name and ask them to wave back at me. So if we try this right now, and if you hear me saying your name, just give a quick wave. And if you're just watching, you can maybe see if you can find that person. So maybe let's try this. Sandra Kahali, can you give me a wave? Nice. Anna Ksenovic. Hey there, Tyler. Hey, Tyler Hansen. Who else is there? AJ, give me a quick wave. Nice. And Campbell, give me a quick wave. There we go. So you can welcome people this way. And I think just reading out people's names, if you have a smaller group, if it's not like 100 people, that's a really great way to make people feel welcome in that first little introduction. The next thing is the welcome, which I just have these 3 steps, basically just saying, hey, like, what is the reason people are here, especially right now where there's so many Zoom things happening. It might be hard for people to remember what they even signed up for. So just saying, hey, we're here to have some more meaningful conversations and not to talk about anything virus related or pandemic related for the next hour and a half. And then why should people care about the event? To me, it's important to create this space where we're all more isolated, like actually physically being isolated. We probably feel a lot more disconnected as well, to create this space to have these conversations. And then how explaining how the event will flow. So we'll be doing a group activity, and then we'll split up into the breakout rooms for conversations in groups of 2 or 3 people. And at the end, we'll all come together for one final round of sharing. So just giving people a heads up, similar to what I did when we started today. The next thing is actually one thing that I learned really quickly, and also something that I completely missed in the beginning, but it's really important to make everyone's voice heard. And it's really hard to do that in a large group. It's much easier with a smaller group, but it's basically when people join a live event, one of the main questions they're asking themselves is, is it safe to be myself and still feel like I belong to in this group? And the same thing is something that happens when people join something like an online virtual event, but it's much harder to make them feel safe and feel seen and heard. So one thing I like to do is, if it's a smaller group, I ask each person to go around and just share something really short, usually like, what's your intention for this event? Or what's one thing you want to get out of this event? Or maybe even shorter, like on a scale from 1 to 10, how you're feeling right now. And then ask each person to choose to pass the mic and just choose the next person. That way everybody gets to share something real quick and everybody feels heard because they had a chance to speak. If it's a larger group, you could also then use the breakout room feature and have people do that in groups of 5. And I actually was considering doing that today, but unfortunately, in just looking at the time, I took that part out because I knew we'll be splitting up in groups again later. And then what I did is using the chat. So again, the question that I asked in the beginning, or doing a poll, like something where everybody who's attending the meeting has a chance to feel heard and participate. Does that make sense? Cool. Then I usually do a connection activity. So what we did is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, this grounding exercise. I, again, love doing something with everyone if it's a smaller group, or if you can do it with everyone, or this might be something you do again in breakout groups with like 4 or 5 people each. Other things you can do, and actually I have this guide that I will share with you that has a bunch of activities that usually are for managers on how to start a team meeting, but any of those games can be applied to a virtual event like this. So I'll be sharing that in the email that I send out tomorrow. So you can look up some more specific activities because I don't think I have time to explain all of them. But I'll share one more that I really like that is kind of similar to the grounding exercise because it's something that helps people feel grounded and experience more gratitude. And it's basically called Gratitude Countdown, where you put either people in groups or everybody shares, but you have to share 10 things you're grateful for right now. And usually what happens is people go through the list like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 really quickly, and then they slow down and they really have to think about the things that they're grateful for. And it's interesting to just watch how people's mind works, but also it's something that people share and helps them connect with each other. Yeah, so or even like doing like the meaningful stretch or the deep breathing is like another one that really helps bringing everyone together by doing something at the same time. This one I do at my events because people are sharing vulnerable stories with each other. So I need to make sure that there's certain agreements in place or guidelines that everybody who's attending should follow. For me, they are those 3: being present, be vulnerable, and choose your own adventure. And I explain what all of that means. So being present is actually the most challenging thing when we're online, because people can be having, I don't know how many of you are actually looking at me right now or my presentation or checking their Facebook messages or replying to an email. It's so easy to be distracted when you're sitting in front of the computer already. So I always share when people pair up and you share this oftentimes vulnerable story with a stranger, you don't want to feel like they're not listening. You don't want to see the glare of the news on their glasses because they're not actually looking at your screen, they're watching the news. So that's like one of the big ones. Yeah, you can basically come up with your own agreements, what you think is necessary for your event, or you could ask the participants themselves to contribute and co-create these agreements with them. And that way they'll also feel a lot more ownership and probably will stick to them a lot more. And then at the end, I usually ask for like a quick thumbs up to the camera if everybody's on screen, so I can visually see, okay, people are on board, or I ask them to just type yes in the chat if they are not on camera. So that way they can do both. And yes, I would love to go into details of the other two agreements, but for that you have to attend actually one of my next Ask Deep Questions on Zoom sessions. Then you'll hear those. And then I do the breakout rooms. And usually I do about 3 to 4 for the hour-and-a-half session. And I like to split people up into different sizes of groups. So sometimes it's 3 people, sometimes it's 2 people. And then we go through the 3 different levels of the question. So there's curious questions that are just below the surface, like the one that we started off with, or like actually this one says, what are you grateful for in your life right now? So kind of like the gratitude countdown. And then there's brave questions, which invite you to share more personal stories, and then vulnerable questions, which are things you might not have ever shared with anyone. So when I go to the last round, I usually let people choose, or groups choose, do you want to go brave or vulnerable? Because I want to make sure that people feel in control. That's kind of the choose your own adventure. You want to make sure that people are feeling safe, and you're not asking them to share something that they don't want to share. Like another idea that I sometimes do is I give them 2 questions to choose, and then I did that yesterday. They get 2 questions, and then each person can choose which question they want to reply to. Thanks for the little heart. Last thing is a debrief and closing, and that's actually something that we'll do right now. Again, this is very different depending on the size of the group. So if you have a smaller group of maybe like 5, 6 people, you could ask a question and have each person go like unmute and share their response to the whole group. If you have a little bit larger group, you could ask them something like, everybody share a number from 1 to 10, how you feel right now, and a word that represents how you're feeling. I did that at a workshop on Tuesday. Or because this is a much larger group, we'll try this. If you all go to the chat right now, and we'll actually be doing this, what's your biggest takeaway from this workshop? And just write that in the chat. And this is, by the way, also something that is really great as a host or facilitator. If people are writing in the chat, and you can share the chat at the end, if you see what people's takeaways are and you miss it when you're in the live call, you can always go back and reread it. The same thing when you ask people, what's your biggest challenge, or what do you want to get out of this call? Those are great things that I will be going back and looking at, okay, did I cover everything? Is there maybe somebody that had a question that I missed that I could follow up with one-on-one? So I'll be reading all of those later because there's a lot of things coming in right now, but that's great. I'm loving all the takeaways. And one last thing I want to share, actually, there's a few things. I want to make sure that we're going to finish in like a minute, at least with the main content. So one thing that some people ask me before I put up this workshop is, why are you not charging for this? This is so much value. And I said that I believe that there's a lot of events that hopefully will be popping up in the next few weeks by all the people that attended this, that I believe will make a huge impact in all the people's lives that are now sitting at home and might be feeling lonely and isolated. So I wanted to give this away for free at no cost. But of course, I'm also sitting at home with not being able to host any live events and not making a lot of money. So I decided to put in a little paypal.me link where you can donate whatever you feel comfortable. If there's value that you got from this presentation, feel free to send me something. If not, that's totally fine too. I just wanted to give the option for anybody who feels called to do. And other things we can work together, or you can support me right now, is you can buy these Ask Deep Questions cards. I actually just got a new shipment from my factory on Monday. They were actually sold out since January. And I've been sending out 40 packages yesterday to all the people pre-ordered, but I have a bunch of boxes behind me, as you can maybe see, that have new cards that are ready to go out and help you with your events or stimulate some of the conversations you're having at home. And I'm also offering, if you're having an event and you either want me to come in and facilitate it, be your co-host, or just consult and give you some ideas, feel free to reach out to me through my website or anywhere else. Oh, or send me an email. I'll send out an email with the replay and some of those instructions again too. And lastly, I am hosting another one of these workshops next week. No, not next week, in 2 weeks, just at the beginning of April. So if you know anybody who's interested in this, you could send them this link and tell them to tune in. Yeah, that is, and again, I will be sending out all the details and this presentation to you tomorrow. So you don't need to necessarily take notes. Is that the right paper link? Oh, not Dr. Jan Keck, is Mr. Jan Keck. Here, let me just go back. Did I write it wrong? Or here? I'll post here again. There we go. And lastly, because I love holding people accountable as well, if you came here because you were planning to host an event or you're planning to host some virtual experiences, I want you to post your ideas in the chat right now. Oh, I sent the link to the wrong place, but I think it already, there we go. Yes, so if you're planning to host something and it's already live, make sure you even post the link. Maybe somebody else on this call is interested to join. And then I'm hoping to see you all host something. And I have one more link I will share, but let's open it up for Q&A as it's 4 o'clock. I still have about 15 minutes. So if there's any questions, then, and I'll put the link here again, then I would love to answer them. And maybe you can even come on and share your question on camera, with the mic on. I will allow you to unmute yourself, but maybe just put up your hand to see if anybody has a question. I'll actually stop sharing this so I can see everyone. There we go. Is there anybody who has a question? What questions are out there? Juanita, here, I'll unmute you, and then Kate. Yeah, you're on. Oh, I'm not sure if we can hear you. I'm not sure if that works. Oh, let's go to Kate for a moment. Sound is not working. Okay, I will allow you all to unmute yourself. So Kate, you can unmute yourself and share your question.
Hey, Jan, thanks. This has been so amazing. Really appreciate it. I should have asked you this a long time ago, but I was just curious, how do you have that personal URL that people can just kind of click on to go to your Zoom account? And do you use that? Is that like more of your personal link, or is that something separate? I wasn't sure on that. Because like your invite for this event was so beautifully done. Like you just put your name and then you sent it. So I'm just kind of curious as to that. Yeah,
so I usually when I host Zoom calls with smaller groups of people or with friends, I have a link that is my website, like jankeck.com/Zoom. And that will relink to my personal meeting room that I set up on my website. Like it just relinks like a link forwarder on my website. But for this event today, I actually made a mistake, and because there's a bunch of people that also signed in as Jan Keck. They clicked that link because I copied the wrong one. So sometimes you have to be careful which link you share with people. Yeah. All right. Juanita, we can hear you now.
Oh, yay. Okay, I'm using my phone. My computer wasn't working. I ordered your cards, but I was wondering how I could get them shipped to my house so I don't have to leave my house.
Yes. You chose like the pickup option, I guess?
Yeah, I was being kind of optimistic.
Yeah.
About the world.
I know it's a tricky time right now. I sent out an email yesterday with some instructions, like the email that says pickup instructions at the bottom has an option. You want to get them shipped, click here. So if you didn't get that, maybe just send me an email and I'll make sure to resend it.
Okay, so how would I go about changing it so that it comes to my house?
So you just have to pay for shipping. You just have to choose your shipping method and then I'll ship it out to you.
Okay, because I already purchased the cards already though. So is there still a way to change the shipping method?
Yes, that's the instructions are in the email. So just send me an email.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I didn't
get
that email, but I'll just wait for it. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you.
All right. Was there anybody else with a question?
Quick question. I don't see the option to raise your hand anymore. Did that go away?
I am not sure. I have not used the raise your hand, like the virtual one, often. I can see that I can lower everybody's hand and I can see some people are raising it, but I don't know.
Wait, somebody just told me to click on participants and then I am able to raise my hand, I think. Okay, thanks.
Okay, perfect.
Hey, Jan.
Richard.
Jan? Yeah. Hey.
Yeah, I always have to look in the screen where the person is that is talking.
Quick question. First, this rocks. Thank you so much for creating a great space to do this. So I'm going to be looking at hosting my first Zoom meeting next week. So a little antsy about it, but going to go for it. My question that I was trying to ask is, I like right now on my computer that I can see everybody's name and I can see their faces. And I don't want to do so many that I have to scroll between screens. So that was my question. What's the maximum number of Zoom participants so I can see everybody's name and when they raise their hands and stuff?
All I could do is count right now. I think it's 25 on my screen per page. So I think 25 is probably the maximum you could do on one screen.
Cool. That's it. Thank you.
Hey, Jan.
Yes.
Hey, it's Michael from New York. I'm just wondering, so I tried to save chat on my iPhone. That didn't work. So now I'm on a desktop. I logged in around 4. Is there a way to save chat from when the call began, or that's like lost, only whenever the point you're logging in through the end of the call?
So I think for this workshop, I disabled the chat to be saved by participants.
Okay.
Just because I want to make sure that if the chat is saved and people are writing information in there, everybody has given consent to that.
Right.
Like it's saved on my end because it's backed up, but I'm not like sharing the chat with people.
Okay.
So if there is anything that you wanted to save, it might be good to just like copy paste it, or if you want to connect with someone, send them a message.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Right. Somebody says they can save it, so I'm not sure. Yeah. But usually I think I try to disable that. Any other questions?
I do have a question.
Tyler.
Tyler
Yes.
here. How's it going? Good. Just a question about, I guess, if you have some content for an event that you're looking to put together, what have you found is a good way to, I guess, funnel your audience into a system, it's a bad way of saying it, into a sort of a process where they can sign up effectively and not get caught up in any roadblocks? Because I think, people might be apprehensive to start into the event if they're not sure what it's about, and you kind of want to make those steps easy for them so that they can just sign up and do it. They won't regret it. stuff like this where we kind of know what it's about, but let's just check it out. And it was great, right? So, that might be the case for a lot of us, where we have a lot of great stuff to say, but just making sure that people can get there effectively.
Yeah. I usually host my events either on Facebook or Eventbrite or my own website. So I think just finding the platform where you think the audience is a good first step. Like Eventbrite is great because people might find it, especially if it's more business focused. I think if it is more like a personal social event, Facebook is a great place because people can easily invite their friends. That way it gets a little bit more reach. And right now, for anybody who's hosting something because of the whole situation that we're in the world, there's a bunch of different like websites and calendars where people are just collecting all kinds of events. So I know I posted this in a few lists that I found in like Facebook groups or or online in like forums. So yeah, I think the first thing is figuring out where do you think your audience is, and then seeing if they have like a place for listings. With like in-person events here in Toronto, there's a website called BlogTO that hosts a lot of local events that I always posted in, and I always got 1 or 2 people who showed up. It's a little bit trickier, I guess, virtually, because there's no like local hub, but at the same time, your reach is so much bigger. You could have people from anywhere. Yeah. Great. Jen.
This is
Here,
great.
hang on. I'll need to unmute you. There we go.
Oh, okay. This has been great. Thank you so much. I know it's tricky to balance how much technical coaching you're giving us versus how much sort of interpersonal choreography you're giving us. And I appreciate the balance that you had. And I want to come back and do one that's not technical at all, and that's only about group dynamics and psychology and emotion and community. But my question is, it seems like the techniques you used would have worked with a group double, triple the size. It would have worked pretty well. The only place where the giant group would get chaotic and unworkable that I can see is in the chat, that it's not really possible for a zillion questions and comments and opinions and responses. It gets overloaded in a giant group. So do you have any comments about that?
So I think you can only disable the chat completely. I don't know if you can, like, you have to go to the website to do it. So I'm not sure if you can like start the meeting off with a chat, then disable it and enable it again. I would say if it's a larger group, even if this was the size of group that is not just me teaching, but people engaging with each other, and maybe even more comments coming in, I would assign a co-host or somebody who's just in the chat replying to people. And I might not even look at the chat, just so I can stay focused on what I need to do. So it's good to maybe have a second person if it feels like it's overwhelming.
Or a third or a fourth or whatever. And I'm guessing the other thing, because it was brilliant that you got us engaged. You said, chat an answer to this, chat a yes to that. You know, you got us to all get our fingers moving, which was brilliant. And I guess, would it make sense then to request in a large group, would it make sense to say, please don't use the chat except when I ask you to?
Yeah, I think you could set that up in your agreements in the beginning. Like, it all depends on how you want it to be used. I like using, again, like, you got the polls, you got the breakout rooms, you got the chat, you get people coming on and sharing something on camera. I feel like if you can get all of the different ways working in one experience, then you're going to engage people in different ways. Like, if I just did polls the whole time or just used the chat the whole time, it probably would be not as engaging as spicing it up in every once in a while.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Good.
Yeah. Also, by the way, thank you for not annotating all over the rest of the presentation, everybody who's still here.
It's not too late. I'm going to try to annotate now.
Now you can't anymore because I'm not sharing anything. Carlina, did you have a question? Because I see you have also a hand raised, or was that just to try out the hand raise feature?
I was just trying out the feature, but you answered my questions already, so thank you.
Okay, good. All right. One more question, if there is one. No, everybody's good. Well, you got my contact information. You know where to find me. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out. One thing that I think I forgot to share while everybody was still there, but I will share it with in the email, is I do have this Facebook group called Deep Connectors that is for anybody who facilitates meaningful connections for people. Usually I only let people in that own a deck of my cards because I know they'll be using them. But because you were on this call with me and you got a little bit of an insight on how I run my events, you're welcome to join as well. We just have over 100 people this week. I just posted the link to Eleanor rather than to everyone. Here we go. Here's the link in the chat. So that's actually one thing that I need to pay more attention to. Whenever somebody messages me privately, and then you go to the chat, you will just message them back rather than to send it to everyone. Yeah, that's it. If you, like I said, if you want to connect with me, feel free to reach out. And I hope to see your events popping up in the next few weeks. Feel free to invite me and let me know how it goes. All right, everybody give a big wave goodbye to everyone. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your day.